Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Earlier this year I did a video talking about my ranking of the Doctors, bottom to top. So this time I'm going to be talking about my top 10 companions. I don't really have much concrete thoughts on every companion on the series, but these 10 are the ones I enjoyed the most. I thought were the most compelling, had the best arcs, had the best personalities, so on and so on. So let's start off with number 10, Liz Shaw. She traveled with John Poultry for only his first season. I liked her a lot because the companions before were often, not that bright, but very courageous. She was more of his intellectual equal. She was, like him, a scientific advisor for UNIT. So she challenged his ideas, and he challenged hers. They had a really good working relationship. Kind of the prequels to Mulder and Scully from the X-Files. Um, Whole independence was kind of the set stone for the modern companion, if you will. To kind of set the standards for the rest of the 70s. I kind of wish they didn't write off after the full season. As much as I love Joe Grant, they wrote off because he was too competent. But I think an easy solution to that would be to have Hull be a scientific advisor, then have Joe Grant be his assistant. That way you could have the best of both worlds. Have Hull still be in the unit stories. I don't know, they should have done that. But I think she was also pregnant at the time, so maybe she wanted to leave anyway. Who knew? Moving on to number 9, we have Leela, who traveled with Tom Baker for about 2 seasons in the 70s. And Leela was just a badass. She was kind of a tribal chick from this distant planet. Very skilled at hand-to-hand combat. She started off really aggressive, but mellowed out with good character progression and kind of lessons from the Doctor. Speaking of that, she had great chemistry with Tom Baker. The only thing I don't like about it was how they wrote her off. They wrote her off horribly by just making her marry some random dudes she just met. I feel like that's kind of a common problem with a lot of companions of classic Doctor Who. They just, oh, I'm marrying this dude I just met. Bye, goodbye forever. I never understood that. Like, why not still travel with the Doctor after you get married? That sounds like an easy fix. Amy and Roy did it. I don't know. Moving on to number 8, we have Bill Potts, who traveled with the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, in Series 10. That was a pretty good season. I liked her. She just had really good chemistry with the Doctor. I like how she really admired him, in a teacher-student relationship, a literal teacher-student relationship. He was kind of like a professor showing her around the universe, teaching her stuff that can't really be taught in a classroom. And I liked her bright-eyed rondo about the world. She's just like always eager to try new things and meet new people. It was cool. And I felt like she had one of the saddle endings where both Bill and the Doctor think that the other one died, which is very tragic. But at least she got to be a space ghost with her puddle girlfriend. I'm not really sure how that worked, but, good for Bill. At least he's happy. Moving on to number 7, we have Amy and Roy. Now, I'm counting these two as a couple because, they've been together the entire time they're on the show, and they're just, Amy and Roy. You can't really have one without the other. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of Amy because of that one time she wanted to fuck the doctor right before her wedding. I thought that was a little weird. But, over time, after traveling with him, she became much more compassionate, yet still feisty. And I loved how Roy was always there for her, and she was always there for him. They had really good commitment to each other. He was a literal knight in shining armor, standing outside of a big box thing for 2,000 years to protect her. So, props to Roy, great guy. And everybody's saying, like, oh, the departure was so sad, but was it though? Because at least they got to live the rest of their lives together. They both died in their 80s. They lived forever. The rest of their lives living together, getting married. So, I feel like they had a lot less tragic ending than a lot of the other companions. Moving on to number 6, we have Martha Jones. Now, she traveled with David Tennant for only one season, but it was a very good season, very memorable. A lot of people don't like that she had a crush on the Doctor, and this was a deliberate choice because throughout her time on the show, She realized that she doesn't need the doctor's approval to see that she's a great person. So it became a lot more independent thinking, you know? And she's really a badass. She walked the earth for an entire year telling people about the doctor and the dangers of the master. So, she pretty much saved the planet. Good for her. And I actually kind of like how she married Mickey in the end, since Rose left Mickey for the doctor, and Martha never got with the doctor, mainly because he was still hung up on Rose. So, Rose kind of stood in the way of both of those relationships, so it kind of made sense that they married each other. I feel like we should have got a little bit more character development into that relationship, but at the same time, you had a lot to cram up in that finale. Well, with the skeletal master and everything, so I guess they didn't really have time for that. Moving on to number 5, we have Ace. She traveled with the Seventh Doctor for about 2 seasons. The last 2 seasons of the show, actually. She was much different than the companions who came before her. She was much more rebellious and outspoken, prone to violence and stuff. Carried, like, little bombs in her pockets, but, in a cool way. She was cool. She was the perfect foil to the Doctor because Sylvester McCoy's Doctor was much more dark and conniving than the others, which matched its whole naivety and recklessness at the same time. It's kind of rough seeing the Doctor manipulate her time and time again to facilitate his own desires. And also, I did like her arc of, like, wondering where she came from, how that time tunnel took her to Dragonstone. I don't know. It was cool. Kind of like the first mystery. Everybody's like, thinks Clara was the first mysterious companion, but I think there's actually Ace. I also see beat a Dalek with a baseball bat, so that's kind of cool. I'd like to see her come back in the modern series. I feel like that'd be kind of cool. To bring back an old companion, first time since Sarah Jane. Number 4, we have Donna Noble. Her and Tennant had amazing chemistry. I feel like Tennant was at his absolute peak when he was with Donna. So he was able to be goofy and still dramatic and relatable at the same time. I like how traveling with the Doctor gave her more confidence, but it was tragically ripped away when she lost her memory of him at the end of season 4, which means all of this character development, all of the stuff she learned, all the confidence she built up, nothing by the end of it. Which I think is the most tragic part of all, but at least she won the lottery in the end, even if it is technically cheating. Number 3, we have Clara Oswald. Now, I may be biased here because I started watching the show back in 2013 when she was the companion and Matt Smith was the doctor. Which is probably why I'm a little bit biased to those two characters. I like her because while most companions looked up to the doctor, she wanted to be the doctor. She wanted to be just as adventurous and smart as he was, which led to her becoming more and more reckless. She thought she could be the doctor, but the doctor could keep regenerating. She could die. So, she was a little bit more reckless with her life. And this, of course, ended up with her having to face the Raven towards the end of season 9, and her, "Oh, I'm dying." Now, I know her ending is divisive, how they brought her back, but I like how Capaldi spent 4 million years in a time loop to save her. A lot of people think this whole escaping death was kind of a cop-out, but I think this just shows how far the Doctor will go when he has nothing left to lose. It's total renegade Time Lord. He'll do anything to save his friends when there's nothing else to live for, at least in his mind. Moving on to number 2, we have Sarah Jane Smith. Now, there's a reason why Sarah Jane came back in the Tennant era and got her own spinoff as well. She's very quick-witted and intelligent, yet relatable and compassionate companion. She's met more versions of the Doctor than any other companion, not including the Brigadier. I don't really count him as a companion. If he was, he'd be on this list, but he never really traveled with the Doctor full time. He was more of just, a friend. But back to Sarah. She traveled with more Doctors than any other version, and I think that just proves that when it comes down to it, the Doctor was always there for Sarah Jane, and she was always there for him. They had each other's back. And I like how she kind of changes depending on which Doctor she was, but still pretty consistent. I like how professional she was with poultry, and how free-spirited and loose she was with Bakel. And when she came back with Tennant, she was a lot more mature, but she still had that adventurous spirit that made the audience love her so much in the first place. You know? It's a shame she died before we could see more of Sarah Jane, because I haven't actually seen the spin-off series, but I know it's pretty popular. And yeah, she's just a very beloved companion. I'm glad they brought her back. Number one, we have Jo Grant. I love Jo Grant's development. She starts off as kind of insecure and timid, but as he travels with the Doctor, she gets much more confident and intelligent too. She picks up a few things. I love her relationship with Poultry. Compared to like the best friend relationship, which was kind of Sarah and Tom Baker, or the teacher-student relationship, which was Bill and the 12th Doctor, this was more of like a father-daughter relationship. He was much more of a father figure to her. And, she was always impressed by the Doctor. She had that wide-eyed optimism. But he was also impressed by her a lot, because she'd surprise him with her competence and quick wit. And, it's kind of impressive that she withstood the Master's mind control in Frontier in Space. It shows that she really has strong willpower. It can't be, I guess it can't be corrupted, I guess. I trust her to take the ring to Mordor. That's just me. I feel like she'd be able to do it, no problem. Well, guys, that is my list of top 10 companions. I bet you guys are upset that Rose isn't on here. I'm not really a big fan of her, but let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite companions are. Notice how I didn't say any of Jodie's companions? It's because they're very underwritten, undeveloped. I don't know, I hope the next showrunner is able to write more engaging companions, who actually have a personality. But, focus on the good times, which was pretty much the 60s through the 2010s. So, once again, thank you everybody for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.